On December 6, 1917, the Halifax explosion shook the Canadian province of Nova Scotia. It was the largest human-made explosion in history until the atomic bombs of 1945. But what caused this massive blast? And how did it impact the people of Halifax? In December 1917, World War I had been raging for more than 3 years. German U-boats patrolled the Atlantic, so ships congregated and traveled in convoys across the ocean for protection. These convoys frequently formed in Halifax, Nova Scotia, because of its ideal location along the transatlantic route and its large protected harbor. That harbor included a constricted passage known as the Narrows that led to an open basin where ships could anchor overnight. Each night, submarine nets were stretched across the Narrows, keeping German submarines out, but also locking friendly ships in until morning. Exiting the harbor had to be carefully coordinated, as ships passed one another in the tight Narrows. One ship, the Emo, had been forced to wait extra time in Halifax, and her crew was not happy about it. She was a Norwegian vessel heading to New York to pick up humanitarian supplies to send back to Europe. On the morning of December 6th, the captain of the Emo sped into the Narrows on his way out of the harbor, recklessly passing other ships on the wrong side. Perhaps predictably, the Emo collided with a French ship called the Mont Blanc, which carried a cargo of explosives and chemicals. The collision was not especially violent, but it was enough to spark a fire on the Mont Blanc, leading to a massive explosion that essentially leveled a section of the city. It took about 20 minutes from the time of the collision to the moment of the blast. During those minutes, people in the town had time to gather at the harbor or crowd the windows of their homes and businesses to watch the spectacular fire, unaware that the Mont Blanc's cargo made an enormous explosion almost certain. When the ship finally blew, the force of the blast either destroyed or badly damaged every structure within a 1-mile radius. About 1,600 people were killed almost instantly, and 9,000 were injured. Roughly 300 of the wounded later died. Nearly 6,000 eye injuries were reported, many caused by flying window glass, and 41 people lost their sight permanently. Humanitarian aid poured into the city by ship and by rail, but those efforts were severely hampered by a massive blizzard the next day, which dumped 16 inches of snow on Halifax and its survivors. Mrs. Lewis and I have twice visited Halifax, each time as a port on a cruise. One of those, a transatlantic cruise that may have followed a similar route to those World War I convoys. Halifax is a lovely city, and its Maritime Museum houses 2 excellent exhibits on the 1917 explosion. There is also an outstanding exhibit on the Titanic, as Halifax was the nearest port to where the famous ocean liner sank, just 5 years before the Halifax explosion. In fact, 150 Titanic victims are buried in Halifax, most of them at the Fairview Lawn Cemetery. Another Halifax highlight is the Citadel, which provides a commanding view of the harbor and can help visitors better understand where and how the famed 1917 blast occurred. The Citadel also provides insight into Halifax's past, and until 2024, featured an exhibit to honor the 80th anniversary of the landing of Canadian forces at Juno Beach on D-Day. The Halifax explosion stands as a shocking wartime disaster and a tragic reminder of how a reckless decision devastated an entire community in just a few terrible minutes. Here are other events that happened Today in History. In 1865, the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is ratified, officially abolishing slavery. In 1884, the 555-foot Washington Monument is completed in Washington, D.C. In 1907, the worst mining disaster in U.S. history occurs at a coal mine in West Virginia. In 1912, an iconic bust of Queen Nefertiti from 1345 BC is discovered in Egypt. In 1921, after a 5-year struggle for independence from Britain, the Irish Free State is declared. In 1992, Jerry Rice catches his 101st touchdown pass, breaking Steve Largent's record. In 2023, Time announces American pop icon Taylor Swift as its Person of the Year. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. How many Japanese aircraft carriers were involved in the attack on Pearl Harbor? 3, 4, 5, or 6? Liked learning about the Halifax explosion? Then you'll enjoy this one about a similar explosion 30 years later in Galveston Bay. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.